penguins. You know, these days, hope can be hard to find. One of the reasons I feel hope is that I can stand here and see your faces. There's worry, there's compassion, there's maybe even a little bit of longing for coffee. But to some degree, in every face, I see hope. Not because you are all cheery optimists, definitely not. But I see hope in your faces because you are here, on site or online. You are here together as a community. The poet Gwendolyn Brooks said, "We are each other's harvest. We are each other's business. We are each other's magnitude and bond." Yes, we are. And in this community of shared religious values, we give each other the power to hope. In December, we discover anew the hope that's found in each of this month's religious traditions. This month in the Jewish tradition, the 8 days of Hanukkah celebrate the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem more than 2,000 years ago. Syrian Greeks had conquered the Jewish homeland and made the temple a place to worship Zeus. Led by Judah Maccabee and his brothers, the Jewish people reclaimed their land and their temple. The 8 candles of the menorah, one for each night, recall an oil lamp that was supposed to burn constantly in the great Jewish temple in Jerusalem. The light had gone out. Of course it had. The conquering authorities denied Jews the right to follow their own religious traditions. When Judah Maccabee reclaimed the temple and entered it to reassert Jewish religious practices, there wasn't enough sanctified oil to last until more could be located and brought to Jerusalem. Judah Maccabee lit the lamp anyway, and it burned tenaciously for the 8 days it took for the new oil to arrive. A miracle. But the story is really so much better than that. Once their land had been conquered, the Jews seemed to be at the mercy of their merciless conquerors. There was deliberate provocation, possibly to emphasize the dominance of the authoritarian powers. Soldiers came to the small Maccabee village and demanded that the village patriarch sacrifice a pig to the Greek gods. I mean, seriously, a pig. He wouldn't do it. A ritually unclean animal to be sacrificed on the holy altar by the Maccabee patriarch and priest who was religiously forbidden to touch the animal. Did I say deliberate provocation? An angry response from the Jews would be an excuse to burn down the village and murder or imprison the people. But it was just too much. The Maccabees rebelled. Whatever provocation had gone before, whatever insults had previously passed without resistance, in that moment everything changed. That pig moment. From the 21st century perspective, the daring of the Maccabees seems extreme and implausible. They took on the ruling powers of their world, their conquerors, their oppressors. It's completely implausible and unlikely. And yet, the implausible the unlikely happens again and again through human history. Tradition says that the light that burned for 8 days and didn't go out was a miracle. But the greater miracle was that ordinary people overthrew their conquerors and reclaimed their religious way of life. I think this kind of miracle happens when someone who has been trying in a day-to-day and very ordinary way to live according to their values keeps finding obstacles, roadblocks, impediments. And at some point, they reach that pig moment and they decide to get where they mean to go anyway. A pig moment when they decide to do something. In each of the other December religious traditions, there is a pig moment. Even with solstice, you might say it's simply that moment when it seems like the sun is never going to come back. And so people developed rituals and dances and prayers to make the solstice turn so that light would return to the earth. Bodhi Day, which is tomorrow, commemorates the day the Buddha achieved enlightenment. The man who became the Buddha was born into a life of privilege. He knew little of life outside his family's home. His pig moment came when he went out and for the first time he encountered suffering, sickness, and death. He had assumed that his comfortable and pleasant life wasn't different from life as most people experience it. He was stunned to discover how much suffering there is in the world. And so he cut off his hair, put on ordinary clothing, and set off to walk the highways and byways until he understood why there was suffering and what he could do about it. The miracle that Bodhi Day celebrates is the Buddha's achievement of an enlightened state. His success gives all of us hope that we too might one day see beyond the world's snares and delusions. But perhaps the real miracle is that it is in the Buddha-to-be's pig moment. His response was the miracle, to reject his privileged life, to go out among ordinary people in hopes that he could understand why the world is what it is, as it is. The story of Christmas that's told and retold places the birth of Jesus of Nazareth in a stable. The family, temporarily homeless and, like the emperor penguins, relying on the presence of other animals to keep them warm. The family, the Holy Family of Christian tradition, became the targets for the agents of King Herod, who, fearing a Jewish Messiah would threaten his power, ordered the death of all Jewish boys under the age of 2. This was definitely a pig moment. The Holy Family ran. They escaped into Egypt to save their child's life. From a family that was temporarily homeless, they became penniless immigrants and fugitives from Herod's injustice. Surely they felt diminished hope, perhaps even despair. Yet Christmas Day, the celebration of their baby's birth, is often described as the advent of hope. Today, the Christmas story is often commemorated in outdoor nativity scenes with sheep, cows, baby Jesus in a manger, parents, Mary and Joseph, shepherds and sages. At the Lake Street Church of Evanston, Illinois, a Chicago suburb that has experienced a wave of federal agents in search of immigrants to detain and deport, the nativity scene has been updated. Masked Roman soldiers stand in place of the shepherds. Mary and Joseph are wearing gas masks. Baby Jesus is zip-tied. Some people have decried this version of the nativity scene as horrific, saying that it distorts the joyful story of Christmas. It is horrific, but not because it distorts the story. It's horrific because it reflects reality. It reflects the reality of 2,000 years ago, when the Holy Family had to run and hide from agents of the King. It reflects the reality of today, of 2025, when children have been zip-tied, separated from their parents shoved into unmarked vans, and bystanders sprayed with tear gas or stunned with pepper bullets. It reflects the reality that when evil seems triumphant, hope is hard to find. And yet it's exactly then, in the hopeless moment when disaster looms, that some people respond in unexpected ways. They rise up. They gather round. They let go of safety and privilege and live lives of meaning and purpose. The minister at Lake Street Church, Reverend Michael Wolfe, has been active in protests against the illegal detention of immigrants, and he was himself thrown to the ground and zip-tied. When he was interviewed about the nativity scene, he said, "Jesus Christ has been born this Christmas holiday, and Jesus Christ is also born into our hearts and our lives in the midst of this suffering, and new light can come, and there really is hope out there. There really is hope." Let me be clear. I do not condone the power-driven and cruel actions that create these pig moments, nor do I assume that anyone who experiences a pig moment is going to be ready to rise up and lead a movement. Yet some people, maybe many people, seem to transform pig moments into hope. Jesus of Nazareth emerged from adversity and obscurity 2,000 years ago, and now lives in the minds and hearts of many in the world in celebration. People today of every faith tradition respect his teachings, his wisdom, his compassion, his hope. Human beings need hope every day. Sometimes it takes an intentional effort to find it. It takes practice, spiritual practice. It takes saying, "I'm grateful for the good things in my life. How beautiful is that tree? How delightful the flowers in my neighbor's garden. Blooming even at this time of year? How do they do it?" And hope also requires role models, stories of people who have overcome adversity, or of people who have responded to evil with acts of courage and conviction. Religion has a role in finding hope. It's religious tradition that tells and retells the ancient stories that give us both hope and these role models. All of the events at the center of December's religious holidays happened thousands of years ago. Yet we are still telling those stories. We need those stories. We need the infusion of hope. And the religious community has a role in finding hope. Religious community, especially in Unitarian Universalist religious communities, supports and encourages shared values. Human beings need to be part of a community that supports their values. Those emperor penguins, they don't retreat into some lonely corner. They gather to share each other's warmth. And they don't stagnate into a single configuration. They're always in motion, shifting positions so that each has a turn in the comfortable warmth at the center of the formation, protected and supported by the community around them. Each courageously takes a turn at the outside too, where the cold is at its most harsh and the icy wind at its sharpest. In our religion, hope once found must be shared. Each Unitarian Universalist and each UU community is called to find ways to bring hope to others. I believe we do that here in this fellowship. I believe we do. Take a look at the printed order of service. In there, at the end, are the words we say together as we extinguish the chalice at the end of every worship service. And now, that's not the original version of that chalice extinguishing blessing. It's been modified. The original was written by Elizabeth Selly Jones, a gifted 20th century UU minister, and the original is warm and comforting. It goes like this: we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. So far, that's the same as ours. But listen to the next sentence of the original. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. So comforting. It tells us that we keep that light, that warmth, that fire in our hearts as we go home and into our daily lives. And then we come back together again. We return to this community here, where we're surrounded by loving, supportive, religious community. Like the penguins in the middle of the flock, here we are comforted and safe. And that's good. It's even necessary. But the version printed in the order of service is not the same as the comforting original version. Our version ends with, these we carry in our hearts and out into all the world. See? The focus is different. We find something here in this community, something that our chalice symbolizes: the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment. And we carry truth. We carry the warmth and comfort of community. We carry the commitment to our values out into all the world, so that our values can make a difference in the lives of everyone we meet. We know we will return here and be together again. We don't need a reminder that this is the community where we find the support and encouragement to live our values. Here is where we find hope. And it's hope that we are called to take out into the difficult, scary, frustrating, challenging world. The world where we and others is one where we're likely to have a pig moment. Sometimes it feels to me like they come every day. And here is where we prepare ourselves to face those moments. Not each of us every day, stepping out courageously to the edge where the icy winds blow, but we can take turns returning inward to support and warmth, and then outward again into the world. Here is where we learn and practice living our values. With love at the center, the acronym of our 7 UU values, justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, generosity, is JET PIG. Pig, yes. JET PIG. See what I did there? You will never forget those values. You will be ready to meet your own pig moment. JET. Justice, equity, transformation. PIG. Pluralism, interdependence, generosity, and love at the center. Here, we hold each other close, and as a community, we hold hope close. And in that final sentence, before we extinguish the chalice, we remind ourselves that when we do go out into the big, scary, challenging world, we must share our hope with everyone.